I'm having a conversation with Hector Cardenas, who leads our operations practice. We've been working with a client that he's going to describe where we help them build a custom application in their, well, I guess it would be a manufacturing process. Hector will explain it, but we were able to use not only fundamental NetSuite structures and model his problem real well. We also did special things with user interfaces and so forth. And I think it showcases the whole idea around doing solutions thinking and really dialing in what the client wants. I have not seen this. I'm enthusiastic about seeing it. Hector, maybe you can give us a background about it and so forth, and feel free to take the screen when you're ready.
Yeah. So let me just give you the background. So one of our customers is a manufacturer, and they are not they would be more of a light assembly manufacturer. They get a lot of component pieces and they may do some machining on those pieces, but they really are assembling pieces together. They actually make hoses in this operation, in this context for this project. So they're making hydraulic hoses. And if you've ever seen, it's kind of interesting, Marty. If you ever see, you might see like a trash truck or any tractor kind of equipment. And what you'll find on them is that there's a lot of hydraulic hoses of various lengths that connect all the pieces together. These hydraulic hoses push the hydraulic fluid with by pumps to move like the parts of the truck, the tractor, the little piece. It's all getting moved by these hoses are pushing and moving this hydraulic fluid. So they would get their customers then would say, hey, I need a set of hoses to be assembled for this application, for this truck, or for maybe a bunch of these trucks. So that's what their customers come and they say, I need hoses that are built to a certain specification, right? The length of the hose, the kind of fittings that you might see on the ends of the hoses, the inner dimensions of the hose sizing, all of these things. So all of that, it gets a little complicated, and their world is they have all the hoses, they have all the fittings, and then they're assembling them. And part of their process is to be able to do quality checks against those hoses. They would like a utility that as they're building, as they're assembling these things, that the workers can actually say, oh, yep, I'm checking the hose and I'm taking like some kind of measurement against the hose. I'm making some kind of notation about what I just did to confirm that I've passed a quality checkpoint. So it requires that all these hoses be quality checked. And as they are, then they can go on and release those assembly builds in NetSuite and then deliver the products to the customers. So NetSuite does have some things around, quality check. They do have some utilities, but it requires there's a lot of other elements that you have to think about in doing all of that work, right? So we wanted something that's much easier and light. So what we have here, I'm going to share my screen here. This is a web application. It's built on our ECF platform. So that's our extensible client framework. What this is, an application that a user, like a person that's going to do an assembly, will see. They would see a page like this, and they'll see here, you could see that we have work orders. And again, this is all this client side stuff. We run actually a query to produce the data for this. That query was very complicated to generate because I'll show you some interesting features right here. For example, you see how we have a part number here.
Yes,
We have an assembly item on a work order,
that's the target.
right? So we have
That's what we're trying to create.
that is what we're trying to create. But this assembly is like, it's got lots of sub assemblies. This is another little assembly here that's being built. And here are different attributes of that assembly. So you can see it's got some kind of hose and sizing. This means something to them. It has a cut length. That's the
I
overall
see.
cut length of that. Here's a fitting that's going to go on one end and another fitting that goes on another end.
Okay.
So you
And
see
so we've standardized what the attributes are for what the hose assembly needs to be. And so we can line that up and see that in a logical orientation for somebody who's doing hose assembly work.
exactly. So this is very natural as
Mhm.
someone's thinking about building all of these. It says, hey, I have a work order. There's a number of items that I have to build. Here's a quantity of these hoses. I need to just go out and build all of these. And there's all kinds of little interesting things. You'll see that we have some filtering here. I think we could just see this. So we add some interesting notations. These notes can be added at the item level. That's a reference to items that are built like this at all times. It could be added as like an attribute of this line. In this case, they want anything that's under a certain size to have an attribute of this message. We could also add other things about, hey, this customer needs special handling or whatever. So we have places where our query basically understands all the dimensions of the data in the database and says, okay, because of that, I need to present you with something. That's what the querying does. And then our developer has then worked through all of these elements to actually present this in the right way to the user. So it's got nice little features on this. So you can search for anything in here if you're
That's an
looking for a
interesting,
particular price.
that's an interesting kind of control what you're doing over there. I'm not sure I understand it. I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen one like this that has
Yeah.
this. What does that mean? You said this over on the note. Is it a bulk applying values at the bulk?
It's not really applying any values here. This just it's filtering right now. If I want to look up, say, I want to look up any fitting that has this 0406. It's small on my screen here, so it's you don't really see this, Marty. But I'm just applying a filter. So I'm
Okay,
just saying, give me anything that has this quality about
okay.
it in
I, I
the item.
I suspected it was a filter, but I couldn't tell how many items were in the length, so I wasn't sure what I was seeing.
Yeah, yeah, it's like that. I could take the filter off and it'll just expand everything, right?
Right.
So yeah, this should be a little bit wider on a normal screen. Maybe I can
Mhm.
make this a little smaller. Doesn't work so great on my laptop. But anyway, Marty, the idea is that you get a list of things to do, work to do. The real thing here is that when you do this work, you have this tool now. This is like a quality check. All we did here was we created a custom record that's associated with a line, a particular line on a work order.
Mhm.
And we then create various inputs for the user. So this could be on the floor, they use tablets to make this kind of entry. So it's really easy for them to do this. So they just marking the things that they're supposed to check, these quality, they're making these calculations. And then they check that they did this. It's just a reminder to do that, to say, I did do this. And then they could submit that record. And so we submit this. This is, as you could see, you're getting immediate responses here about, hey, I just submitted a record. I got a successful response. I have this thing that says
Ah,
QC pass.
I
So it's
got it.
giving you, oh, I just worked that one out. I'm going to work out this one and I'm going to do the same thing. So you have
I
this
follow you.
nice way to see this. Now, I'm not going to do all of them, obviously, but
Mhm.
person would go and do that. And then when this work is completed, then we would be able to basically build the assembly for this work order. And I think we even do a work order completion against it as well, which actually closes out the whole process.
Oh, okay. So I think I can visualize. The work order is a NetSuite work order to do the work. The
Mhm.
assembly here is the one up top. That's the TFP 0368 Rev F.
Yep.
The items down below are effectively its simplified bill of materials. There's a lot of them on this one here, but that's okay.
Right,
And you're showing it over here. Yeah, okay. So it's got a lot of
right,
richness behind it.
right. It's all this information in here.
Yeah, quite a bit. And so in essence, what we need to do is all that line work is also you're doing assembly with it at some respects. You're on the floor and
Yeah,
you're fitting the hose ends and stuff like that. You're cutting and doing things, correct?
yeah. Think about how difficult it would be to read this thing and to go, okay, I need this part and that part, and it's not organized,
Yeah.
and I need five of these, and oh, I'm doing five, but then I got these amounts here, and it's not given to you in a way it makes sense. It's easy to work with.
Got it.
And
So all those things that were in columns are actually also lines down in here. And so it's
yes.
really long here. There, it's more organized in a way that's more intuitive to the hose assembler.
That's the idea is that, hey, we want to make this easy, intuitive, and we want to be able to have them act quickly. There's a sense of, okay, I'm doing this very quick kind of work and I could see everything I need to do. And here, right, as you think about this, I have a work order and now it's almost like I'm working through a state because you might finish 5 or 10 of these and then have to go to lunch and then
Put them
so
aside.
where are you?
Yeah.
But now you go, oh, I see, I passed, and this is where I'm at because I've already passed them and I can just continue the work. It's like a system to manage the work on a work order. That's what it is. And it also is a quality control function, which that's needed. They have to produce these or store these documents. They used to do all of this on paper. and they
Hmm.
would try to file these in filing cabinets. And then it's just a very cumbersome and it's not really at all efficient. Now, of course, they have all of the data. They can report on it, right? It's tied to the work order. It's built. Once they do that, they cannot delete these records. Once they submit the records, they can. I can remove it right now. I'll do that myself.
Hmm.
So it does remove, it gives me an opportunity to remove it because you may have made a mistake here
Makes
and want
sense.
to resend it. But once you actually submit this to be a build, then it's gone and you can't do any more
Got it.
updates
Got it.
to that record.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So I can see how it's doing. It's doing a couple things. If I understand you correctly, each one of these lines in some respects represents a set. And that bill of materials is got some sort of logic in there that represents a set. And
Yes, this is exactly right. They
and
represent
that
a particular hose assembly. That's
got
what it
it.
represents.
And so he's got a pretty big bill of materials because there's lots of sets in here, but that's okay. There's a
Yes.
certain way that they're modeling that they see the world. So it was important for them to have it. Then the hose assembler works very naturally in that set orientation. They work on that. They can QC it. When they pass it, they can put that aside, but they still have more work to do. That's why it's a work queue for one work order, correct?
Yes. Yes,
Okay,
exactly. It's a worker for one work order. And then it becomes obviously multiple work orders. As you think about this, you might
got it,
have a whole list of them here, and you'll
got it.
be doing to all of these work orders.
Okay, so just the concept of a work order, it has maybe like a sub work order. Usually we think of that as blowing out a sub-assembly. But
Mhm.
given the way they wanted to shape the work and the way they did their bill of materials, this was a more natural way they wanted to do it. Fine, that's okay. We were able to model it and get it going. And then if I understand you correctly, once you work through the entire sets to get them at QC, the whole thing now can be built, which then allows NetSuite to do its normal work order completion and bring it to its finished state. And you lock in all those QC attributes about it at that point.
That's right, Marty. That's you do that. I think fundamentally it's a very simple concept. It's okay, I understand what it's doing. There's not a lot of drama there. It's pretty simple. The real thing, there's a couple of things that are interesting, I think, from our perspective. One, understanding the complexity of how to drive data. Driving data in NetSuite is complex. And we've been very high on our tools, querying tools, right? And even in our new ECF tool, I just wanted to show that what we're trying to do here, we're defining data for this environment, right? So I'll just pick up this one query that we've created for this actually had to be built in two queries. The data is very rich and we're trying to extract a certain types of work orders with certain characteristics.
Hmm.
And it's pretty complicated. I think what's interesting here is to get this bomb the way it looks, would think I would be able to do it right from the lines, but I could not do that from the lines. I could not get the data structured the way we needed to. So we actually go to the BOM revision of the record, extract that data, and then bring it forth to build out these individual columns that you saw. It took us a while just to get really the understanding of how NetSuite formulates the data in query off of this work order. It was quite a bit of work just to understand the way NetSuite does this and then get the data to align correctly each and every time. So
Got it.
that was
Got it.
really important.
So you're trying to just say, hey, one of the things that was challenging was just even the data access to get it to be expressed the way we wanted, needed to
Right,
navigate some complexities in NetSuite table to bring
right.
it forth to get control over it for our own work that we wanted to do.
Exactly. It's not, you would think, oh, I could just go to the lines and get it just nicely from the work order. No, you cannot. You cannot get it the way you want it to. So we had to rethink through, okay, I have this assembly and then I want to produce for that particular assembly. How do I know which items I want? Like I go to the assembly definition, the BOM revision itself, and find the data that I need to. So that's how we do it here. The other thing is, I will say this, is that a lot of times customers don't know, they don't have any standards around their data. They don't know exactly, some of these, this is a built item name. You could see it's got coding around it. This is NetSuite is building this name every time they do this assembly. And so they have specific reason why this was named was to give it some structure. And then we use that structure to understand where all of these columns are supposed to go.
Mm.
Nothing in the database tells us it's a fitting, right?
Oh,
There's no defined structure that it's a fitting, but we cultivated that, we shaped the data to understand, okay, this is where we are. This is how we're going to apply these rules. And in the query, we generate the data that says, I'm going to put fitting one here. I'm going to put fitting two. I'm going to understand what, if it requires a ferrule or not, simply from the data. No
right, got it.
attributes told me that
And
this was a ferrule.
because we didn't do the initial modeling of this problem, the client already had it. And so what we
Yes,
do is go back and deduce their
yes,
their structure. In
mhm,
this case, they made the part meaningful, the part number meaning. It was
right,
consistent, which was good news because NetSuite
right,
had its mechanism of trying to help create that. But now we had
right.
to rip that apart to make it meaningful out here in this application.
Yeah. And then I think that is a common thing with customers where they're thinking about a problem and they see it, they understand it in just from they see it, they understand what things mean in their environment, but they don't really have a data attribute element. And so that took us a while to crack for them because, you can imagine not everything follows the same pattern as you would expect it to. Sometimes we have some anomalies in the naming conventions and we had to deal with some special situations there. So
Mhm.
just to say that there's a lot of complexity and stuff. It looks simple enough. You go, oh, this should be okay. But there's a lot of hidden gems in here that it's fun to experience and to read through and to understand and get a really good hand of what NetSuite is, the data structures, what they really can support and what they can't support. It's a really fun project, right? Because it challenges you. How do you get into the user? Even in some cases, the developer, Ellie, that worked with me on this, we it was like we're building it ourselves and we're just putting our minds as if we're on the shop floor and going, what would I want to see? How would I use it? And the customer, they go, oh yeah, this is exactly what I totally helpful. This is the right approach. It's great. So you got to get into that kind of feel.
That's awesome. I can see it. And I appreciate that you took me down another layer because I might have thought of it more simply and recognizing that it wasn't just the line data, that you actually had to go through the bill of material revisions, that you actually had to rip apart the part numbers and so forth. The
Yes.
client, the standard kind of team wouldn't stand a chance to be able to bring this together. And
Yeah.
I know he was trying to do some things, correct?
Yeah, I think our customer is, I think we have a really good relationship. So it's like he could just he just explains the issue, and then it's us to really suss that out, really figure out what's going on, and then find the solution. I think that's part of working well with customers that don't have all the business requirements like nailed down. They have a vision, they can't always articulate it super well, but they do have a vision, and we just listen to that. And I think that we can come up with really nice solutions like this. So to me, this was a great opportunity. They've asked for enhancements now. There's more, this is a great tool. Could you give me a picking list off for this work order so I can go out and grab all of the
Makes
hoses that I
sense.
need to? I need a picking list and I need other little things there. So there's already, obviously, there's more things as users get like the product, use the product, and then have more requests. So been very good with the solution. I
Okay.
think this is important too, Marty, in another way, because it shows you for certain types of manufacturing environments, you don't need necessarily whip and routing, and you don't need the quality things that NetSuite provides, but only if you have whip and routing. So you can get some of these features, right? That, they're just custom little tools that we're creating, and you can get the same kind of thing for your very light assembly manufacturing kind of environment. So it just shows that you could extend just the basic functionality, make it be a much richer, better experience with the right kind of data.
Right.
That's
Okay, I'm
another.
following you because they were using just light manufacturing, which is a pretty simple sort of structure. But you said, okay, if we can do a certain kind of a manufacturing, it's just a tailored, specific kind of manufacturing that they were doing around these hose assemblies. They don't need the whole manufacturing module. They can basically get it done, and it's tailored. It fits. They're not paying for it afterwards. It's not all this heavy thing stuff that they got to carry around. It's straightforward.
Very
Uh,
easy to understand. Yep.
did the clients say how much time they think that they're going to be able to save now that this is live? They were on paper before. Did they report back yet, or are we still waiting for that?
No, I think that's a good follow-up, Marty. They're working it and I think the initial stage was for them to continue doing their paper model and to do a parallel test because they just want to make sure it's working the way they need to. We'll get more feedback and I'll let you know what it did at the post interview.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, this is great. Thank you so much, Hector. It's awesome.
We hope you found these insights helpful. If you're ready to get more out of your NetSuite investment and unlock untapped potential in your business, start your journey with Prolecto. Contact us today.